Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Library, where Star Wars is in print, the Force is with the readers, and finally in this episode, Luke and Han and Chewbacca and C-3PO make it to Hoth, to Echo Base. I'm your host, Nathan P. Butler. What we're looking at this time is a comic strip story entitled A New Beginning. It ran from October 3rd to Christmas Day, December 25th of 1983, after, of course, Return of the Jedi was all over with. Now, where you can find this, one of the places you can find it is from pages, 465 up to page 500 of Volume 3 of that Russ Cochran newspaper strip set released back in 1991, the Unaltered series here. These days you can find this in the pages of Volume 3 of Classic Star Wars Escape to Hoth, or in the original issues, number 18. That's Luke running away from Sybil from the Paradise Detour, the previous story. This one actually begins a new beginning on the bottom of this page here, where we see Han talking and then we see the snow speeders. Actually, between those two panels is the split between the Paradise Detour and A New Beginning. It then takes up all of issue number 19, and then for only the second time we've ever seen in the newspaper strips, it will then end in a third issue, Classic Star Wars number 20, the special 48-page final issue of that series. In this case, it is a story that ends with this weird bit here where it looks like Luke is being beamed aboard a ship. They basically are. They're that little beam of light takes them up into the ship so they can get off of Hoth. So the general gist of this story is that Luke, Han, and them have finally made it to Echo Base on Hoth. The problem is they may have been followed, and that means that, for all we know, we might wind up seeing the Empire knocking on their door even sooner than the Empire strikes back. After a nice argument between Leia and Han, kind of the same thing we expect from the Empire Strikes Back, the idea is that a ship is approaching, kind of dead on their tail, and they have to go back up into space. And it's Luke and Han, the idea being that they can take the Millennium Falcon and go up into space and come up with some other plausible reason to be there. Then whatever this ship is that's coming might just pass on by. Whether it's Imperial, whether it's, smugglers, whatever. If they can convince them that there's nothing really of value on Hoth, or no reason to be on Hoth, or that their reason to be on Hoth is not something that the others should be involved in, there's no need for them to go to the surface and accidentally run into Echo Base. Again, it's the idea of somehow they're going to find Echo Base on the planet, on one spot on the planet, by just landing randomly on the planet here. Presumably they're meaning something kind of scanning so they can actually spot the base, because surely randomly, spin the globe, stick your finger on it is not going to reveal, Echo Base. That would be a little bit too far-fetched, even for Star Wars and the suspension of disbelief here. Turns out, though, the people who actually arrive, these are people we've seen before. They are caught, beamed up, basically tractor beam, pulled into this massive ship, only to wind up finding that the man in charge is someone we have seen before, a man by the name of Raskar. Yes, Raskar from back in the Power Gym. Mystra is not with him this time around, but he is back. He now, needs a new fortune. He doesn't have the Power Gym anymore, and one of the things he wants to do is collect the bounty on Han Solo. If he can collect the bounty, he contacts Jabba the Hutt to let Jabba know that, he has a lead on Solo, which is going to set up events in the next storyline there. But, he's got him. And the idea is he's going to be able to turn them in. Problem is that they are above Hoth, and Raskar is thinking, I could turn him in, but, there's something else going on here. Han, you've been serving the rebels. I think that when you came to get the Power Gem and you brought it back to the rebels, you probably got a substantial reward, or maybe from something else you've done for them. Of course, at this point in the story, he doesn't have it anymore, at least to my knowledge in this era. It's all kind of shuffled around, right? Because it was that chunk within the Marvel series where Crimson Jack took it. He tries to get it back in the Scoundrels novel, etc., etc. The whole, when does Han have or not have the money thing has kind of been an up-in-the-air thing in different comic series. Suffice to say, he says, you know what? You probably have a reward. You probably have a fortune from the Alliance. I want it. Give it to me. I'll let you go. Otherwise, I'm turning you over to Jabba. Well, Han doesn't have it. But to save their lives and keep them from being turned over to the Empire or to Jabba, they're able to convince Raskar that the reason they're at Hoth was not because of a rebel anything. It's the fact that the reward is there. You know, he's got something stashed there that is his fortune. So they go on this wild goose chase looking for it, but luckily, as they land and get kind of stuck, landing on the ice here, they wind up going underground, and Luke has spotted something on the scanners that save their butts. We don't know what it is as issue 19 ends, other than it makes Raskar's face do that. Oh, you would not believe it! What on earth is it? And I love his little Muppet-looking, buddy down there in the corner there, who looks even more shocked. It's like, what would happen if you took a Kermit the Frog puppet and punched it right in the nose, so it punches that nose piece in there just a little bit. Kind of deformed Kermit the kind of thing going on here. We find that it is actually a cave that Luke spotted full of Lumni spice. And Lumni spice is incredibly, incredibly valuable. The cover story is, they paid me in spice and I brought it here to cultivate it and make an even bigger fortune. Yeah, that's the ticket. That's what I did. Problem, of course, is that it's guarded by these giant demon slugs, as they're called, and they have to fight their way out of the demon slugs and such, until finally, having done so, they're able to finally get themselves off the planet. They're rescued by Raskar's ship and everything, and it's basically, hey, look, you made a fortune on the Lumni Spice while you were here, Raskar. I saved your life. Your people are saving us. I think that makes for a nice balance. Leave us alone. Leave our stash of Lumni Spice alone. We can be, cordial in the future. This doesn't have to end badly. And it seems like everything's gonna be okay as they head up to the ship, but not for long. But that's where the next story actually picks up here. So this story in and of itself, A New Beginning. Again, kind of an odd name for this story because it's just them getting to Hoth, but it's not a new beginning in other senses here, except maybe the beginning of a new 3-story story arc, if you want to call it that, even though it ties in to previous ones. Quick little story. Got some good interplay between, Han and Luke and such, but still not quite the oomph of some of the other stories that we have seen in this series or are going to see in the last couple of stories of this series. A nice setup, though, for those last 2 stories, Showdown and The Final Trap. So is this A New Beginning, an essential read? No, it's not. You might need it to be able to understand the next couple of them, but broader Star Wars, no, it is not an essential read. So it is an interesting little tale. It's got its odd moments, Lumni Spice being introduced back then, but not really anything all that special. But you do need to see how this one sets up the next one as they're going back up to Raskar's ship. We'll pick up with that the next time we see the newspaper strips here on the show. With that, we'll wrap up this episode. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with the readers.